Good morning, pre-calculus. Okay, so today we're going to take on the question of how do we find the inverse of a matrix. And I sent this out ahead of time and asked you to play around with it. And maybe you had some luck and maybe you didn't. So to unpack this question, let's think about what does it mean to find the inverse of a matrix. Well, it means that we want to find the matrix that we multiply this by to get the identity matrix. Okay, so in other words, I'm looking for the solution to this right here. And I don't know what these values are, but I know that if I take this times this, I'm going to get my identity matrix. And you know how to multiply these two guys together. We're just going to go zoop, 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 zoop. Okay, so I could say that 8a minus 5c has to be equal to 1. And I'm going to get this equation right here. And then to figure out the next one, I'm going to say 8 times b minus 5 times d. That's got to be equal to 0. And then I could say, hey, negative 3a plus 2c, that's got to be equal to 0. And then my final spot, negative 3b plus 2d has to be equal to 1. And so I could translate this matrix multiplication, this matrix equation, into these 4 equations here. Okay, well now what do I do with these? So now it looks to me like I've got two equations with 2 variables and 2 other equations with 2 variables. And so I could take this and write it as an augmented matrix. Okay, and we've done that before. And then I could do my row operations to get this to be a 0, and then to get this to be a 0, and then to get that to be a 1. Okay, and then I could do the same thing over here. I could translate this guy here into an augmented matrix. And when I look at those two things, I'm like, hey, wait, of course, this part here is the same, only this part here is different, which means that my row operations to get these to be an identity matrix are going to be identical. So what I can really do is I can take these 2 augmented matrices, boom, 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 bam, and create an augmented matrix. All this are my coefficients, boom, 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 and then my answers. Okay, so this is just called an augmented matrix. You're going to do it the same way that you did the others. We're still going to try to get this to be 1, 0, 0, 1, and then see what happens here. All right, so I'm going to take this and translate it. There we go. Okay. So of course, when I try to use row operations to solve this, my first goal is to get this term right here to be a 0. How am I going to do that? What am I going to do to get a 0 right there? Well, I think if I get these to be the same value, in other words, find their common multiple, that they would cancel out. And so if I take 3 times that and add it to 8 times that, ba-bam, I think that I should get 0, because 24 minus 24 is 0. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, plus 2 times 8 is 16. I think that's going to be a positive 1. So then this is going to be, what's going to go right here is going to be 3 plus 0. So that's just 3. And this is going to be 3 times 0, which is 0, plus 8 times 1, which is 8. And I think that's my next step. Okay, so then keep in mind my next goal is to get this guy right here to be a 0. I think I'm going to do that by multiplying this by 5 and adding it to here. Okay, so let's see what happens if I do that. If I multiply row 2 by 5 and add it to row 1, so this is going to be 5 times 0 plus 8. That's just going to be 8. This is going to be 5 times 1 plus negative 5. That's 0. This is going to be 15 plus 1. I think that's 16. And this is going to be 40 plus 0. I think that's going to be 40. Okay, So then keep in mind, my very next step is to take this and get it to be a 1. So the way I'm going to do that is to divide everything in this row here by 8. Let's see how we do here. If I divide everything here by 8, I'm going to get 1, 0, 2, 5. I'm going to keep this row here the same, 0, 1, 3, 8. Okay, pause for cuteness. This is the neighbor's dog. This is my dog's best friend. You can see they love each other very, very much. All right, so now I have the identity matrix here, and I have something else here, and this is our matrix inverse. Okay, so we started with the matrix 8, -5, -3, 2, and I think that its inverse is 2, 5, 3, 8. It should be true that if I take this matrix multiplication and figure out what goes here, I should end up with the inverse matrix. So why don't you check that out there, and then we'll go on.